This is Bill West. I've got the pleasure of leading eLearning Brothers Custom Group. That's me on the right-hand side. I actually look older than the pictures, so thank you for whoever drew that. I'm really excited about this era of e-learning. I've been in the industry for 30 years now, had the pleasure of working with organizations like Anderson and Ernst & Young, GP Strategies, and also helping a couple startups in both the U.S. and the U.K. So I've watched a lot of the evolution over the last decade. I'm really, really excited because I think this is an amazing time in our industry, and games is in the focal point of that. So I'm real happy today that we were joined by the Game Agency. Game Agency was founded by two former game designers at one of the major game companies and a rocket scientist. And today we've got the rocket scientist with us, Richard Lowenthal. And Richard, welcome. I look forward to talking with you this next hour.
Well, thank you so very much, Bill. And hello to everyone out there. This is Richard, and I am the avatar on the left. At the risk of making Bill's avatar blush, Bill, it is an honor to be virtually shoulder to shoulder as we present today. A quick background on me, in addition to being the rocket scientist. The Homer Simpson beard you see on my avatar is pretty much spot on, although in reality it also has more gray in it. For the past 20 years, I have been a game developer and game publisher, and in fact, my two partners, Joe and Steven, who hail from Atari, we all come from the video game industry. And that actually is very much a distinguishing characteristic of what we do, what we bring to training programs, is that we start from the perspective of the video game. And we work to leverage fun and engaging games to essentially create a virtual playground where you, the instructional designers and trainers and CLOs of the world, you bring your employees to that playground to then actually engage in a very meaningful, fun, and long-term retention way. So we build that playground, you bring your employees to it. The analogy I love giving, usually works a little bit better in person, but the analogy I like is that training is the peanut butter and games are the jelly, and they complement each other beautifully. So the peanut butter and the jelly make for a delicious training sandwich. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. So we hope this is a very rewarding webinar for you, and with games you definitely always want to have rewards. So what are those takeaways that we hope that you garner from today's webinar? Some of them are intrinsic, so we want you to gain insights into the economics of what we are calling this new attention economy. Very much want to provide you with some tools to help you improve your training so that you can succeed in this new economy. We very much want you to have an hour of guiltless entertainment. We are here to learn. We're here to have fun, and those two concepts are mutually inclusive. So that's very important. We're going to play a couple of games together. One of them is called the jump game, and there will be an extrinsic prize for the winner of that. And then we're going to play together. We're going to try a little experiment. Something I've never done before is to have 500 of my best friends all playing together one game, and we'll be doing that with a game called the Character Playbook. Now, if Bill and I really do our job very well over this next hour, we're going to have all of the above will be all of your takeaways, and that's certainly our challenge, and we hope to live up to that. Today's extrinsic reward is thank you very much to the eLearning Brothers. The person that has the highest score in the jump game will receive a one-year subscription to over 50,000 character images that you can use when creating your training. So a big shout out and thanks to the eLearning Brothers. So at this point, we've learned a little bit about Bill and myself. We're actually going to turn the spotlight on to the audience. I'm going to hand the baton back to Bill for him to conduct some polling. So Bill, back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Richard. So the first thing we want to do is learn a little bit about you. We're going to ask you a couple polling questions, and then hopefully dispel a few myths. Talk about who's playing how they're being used. So Andrew, if you could help me out, the first thing we want to do is post a poll and just find out a little bit about the employees in your organization. So, Andrew?
There you go.
There we go. So if you could quickly respond what the average age of your employees are. You know, I know some companies highly millennials, some companies more on the boomer side. So this will help us get a good distribution of the people that are here today. And then we can compare that with what we're getting in terms of demographics of game players. So give you a couple seconds here to collect this data. It's interesting, Richard, as we're finding the accessibility of games nowadays, where it used to be very canned, or maybe it's something you found in the basement of your house, the Xbox. But now everybody's got them on the phone, right? They're right there in front of you.
No question. You know, we spent at TGA the first 5 years probably talking to people and dispelling that myth that games are played by, you know, boys in their basement. That's not true. They are ubiquitous. So definitely a misconception.
All right, gentlemen,
Okay,
we've got
so,
about 90% of our participants have voted. I'll go ahead and close this and show you the results.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Wow. Okay, so 35 to 45, good. So some representation of the millennials here, but a lot of us in that middle section. So 35 to 45, this is going to work out really well. Let's take a look at that next question. So we're going to put the spotlight on you and ask you, you know, in terms of what your sort of instinct is. What age group do you believe plays the games most often? Kind of aligning with the previous question, who do you think are playing the games more than other groups? It's interesting that, you know, some of us, the ones with gray hair, you know, we grew up with a different type of game, dating all the way back to your friends, Richard, at Atari. Whereas those of us that have kids have grown up with games right there in front of them, everywhere they go.
Yeah, I'll tell you, my first game that I ever had was a large Pong game that my dad bought. It was just sit down, and you had the knobs on either side, and could even, instead of putting quarters in it, you'd open the door and you just flick the little lever to get you more games. So that was my first game, and I was hooked ever since. So
ours was similar. That there was an overlay on the TV. You could change it from Pong to soccer to hockey. Putting an overlay.
Nice.
All right, let's take a look at what you thought. All right, smart group. What you'd be surprised to find out that the average is actually more closer to the 35 to 45. So it's actually closer to what your employees are right now. In fact, in the 25 to 35, 72% people play games. And then in 35 to 45, it's about the same number. 72% of people in that age bracket play games. And in fact, this may very well surprise you, but 52% of all game players are female. And so that dispels the myth of the teenager in the basement, although we didn't give you that option. But it is, you know, thanks to the candy game, thanks to Jewel, thanks to the many games that you can download on your phone, the age of game players has increased, and that is a huge opportunity for us in the learning group. Andrew, what do we have next?
We want to know how often you play games.
Yeah, so those people that have answered that they play games, maybe you can give us a quick response of, let's say, we're going to say, how many times a day do you play games? We promise not to tell your boss if you exceed that, and then we're going to ask where you do play your games. And I think what we're going to find is Candy Crush. Yes, thank you, Angela, for helping me out. You noticed that I spaced the name of the game, and I appreciate your help out there. This is kind of like Romper Room for those of us that are in the boomer age. So let's see the results here. Andrew, if we could. Once per day, once per week, pretty evenly distributed. Looks like got some hard workers in there, so only once per week. Let's go with the next question. We were making an observation the other day. Richard, that when you get on an airplane, everybody in first class gets on first, and then the rest of us commoners get on. And when you walk through first class and you look at everybody, they all seem to be playing a game when they're on the airplane.
I'm working. Just to let you know, Bill, that's not me. I'm working.
Well, for you, I could believe it. That's what you do. Some people ask any type of game, and I think we're certainly talking about mobile device games or games that you would have in an arcade like an Xbox, something along those well. Let's go ahead and look at the results.
It is interesting to note that the PC game is not dead by any means. People are playing games on their desktops as much today as they did 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So the computer horsepower really enables a lot of amazing games, including being able to play games, virtual reality games, which you really need to have that horsepower. So the desktop on your computer, that is by no means dead.
No, it's not. And on your computer, it seems like it came in second. I think these results match up pretty well with reality. So let's dive into some of the content and talk about this new environment, Richard, that you were talking about, this attention deficit environment. Maybe you can enlighten the crowd here about that.
Sure. So we're going to spend just a few minutes now talking about the reality of the environment in which our employees exist, in which they have to live and work. And we have this section we call Consider This, sort of kind of your Jack Handy moment, deep thoughts. So consider this, 8 seconds. Why is 8 seconds so important to every single person on this telephone call right now? Is it because you have 8 seconds to transition between courseware slides? It's the time to grab someone's attention, or it's the time you have to make a lasting first impression during an interview? Well, the reality is that you have only 8 seconds to grab someone's attention today. And that number is down from 12 seconds in 2003. 5 minutes. Why is 5 minutes so important to all of us? 5 minutes is the average attention span today, the recommended max video length for online courses, or the employee tardy window for an instructor-led course. The answer is, it is the average attention span today, and that is down from 10 minutes in 2003. So attentions are in the toilet. 90%. What does 90% have to do with us? Is it a passing grade for sexual harassment training, the 2-year turnover rate for millennials, or the percentage of new skills lost by employees each year? In fact, it is C. It is the in and out syndrome. 90% of the skills you teach your employees will have been vanished within a year. So what the bleepity bleep is going on here? Bill, what's going on? Well, what's happening is that our employees are being deluged. There is an avalanche of information that is crushing them on a daily basis. They are exposed to all of these data points. 121 emails a day is what they are receiving and having to respond to. 128 text messages a day. This is on top of all the G-chats, the notifications, the calls and the emails. So a very smart man by the name of Herbert Simon won a Nobel Prize in economics in 1978. And he posited this, and this is what he won for. What information consumes is the attention of its recipients. Hence, a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. A profound statement. And basically what we're saying here, what this gentleman Herbert Simon said, is that too much information causes a suffering of attention. So we've coined this term, societal attention deficit disorder. All this information is fracturing their attention. So what all of us on this webinar have to contend with is that there's a new economy where the actual currency is attention. And it is a precious currency that we all have to fight for. And you're fighting for that currency against all of the other forms of information. Now,
excellent. Hey, Richard, if I could stop you there. This is actually very, very fascinating. We got a couple of people asking questions about the research itself. Is that something maybe we could send out to them afterwards?
Absolutely.
All the data you have is absolutely fascinating. I got couple different people that have asked. So maybe at the end of this, maybe we can send a link to a white paper so that you guys use for that research.
Absolutely, absolutely. I will send out references for this entire presentation. So thank you, Bill.
You bet.
All right, so how are companies, how are they, companies that are successful today, how are they grabbing and keeping their employees' attention so that the training that you need them to absorb, to learn and retain, how are they doing that? So successful companies have reformulated this communication method. Their methodology has changed tremendously. Now, this slide could easily be a 2-hour webinar all by itself. We don't have that time, so I'm going to quickly just run through this, which is your training, the way you communicate with your employees has to be everywhere, on their phone, their tablet, their desktop. It has to be proactive. It has to be customized to them and pushed to where they are. It has to be engaging. It has to be two-way. You've got to have audience participation. It has to be rewarding. There has to be social components. There has to be competition. There has to be elements of loyalty. Yes, you need to have a loyalty program. American Airlines has a loyalty program. You need to have one too. It has to be synchronized, which means it has to be constant, immediate, and it has to be bite-sized. Think of Twitter. So what communication method combines all of these key ingredients? Well, clearly games, or we wouldn't be having this webinar. So games is the method, the methodology, the medium that we use to help you more effectively communicate with your employees. Okay, now we're going to play a game together. Let's put all of this into practice. Those 5 test tubes, we're going to put this into practice. We're going to play a little game together. So what you're going to do in just a moment is I'm going to show a URL up on the screen, and then have your web browsers open, which of course you already do to be watching this. Have a separate web browser window open. I suggest Chrome if you have it. Works really well. And I'm going to explain the game and how you play it just so that everyone goes in. You're going to have 3 minutes to play this game. You're going to be controlling the little character on the left. His name is Jack, in honor of my son. That's Jack the Jumper. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be controlling Jack with 2 keys, your left arrow key and your right arrow key on your desktop. Okay, that's all you need to do. It's left and right. You're going to control his movement left and right. He's automatically going to be jumping up higher for you. You're going to jump onto these platforms. Some platforms are bears. You'll see like that blue platform over here. That's just a bear. You can jump on there and he's going to jump up. Some of them have special rockets that give you a nice boost. And others have a question mark on it. When you land on those, it's going to open up a question that relates to game-based training. If you get the question correct, you will get a super boost. It's going to launch you up really high and give you lots and lots of points. It will also give you an extra life in case you die. During the 3 minutes, you have an infinite number of lives. All right? After the 3 minutes, a screen's going to come up. It's going to ask you to enter some information so we can thereby identify you on the leaderboard. A few minutes after we close, Bill's going to talk a little bit more about game design, and then we're going to show the leaderboard and indicate who won today's jump game. So I think I've shared everything you need to know. Everyone gets 3 minutes, so no need to hurry. And there's the URL. The URL is bemorefun.com because everything should be more fun. So there you go. Everyone, please go to bemorefun.com, and the start button will come up in about 10-15 seconds after you get there. So just be patient, and then start playing.
Hey, Richard,
I'm going to let everybody concentrate. Go ahead.
Does this game work on a phone or an iPad, or just on the computer?
Yes, it does. Yep. It works really well. If you're going to use a phone, I highly recommend using Chrome. It works better. So you can use an iPhone, you can use an iPad, it doesn't matter. And if you do that, you're going to control the character Jack the Jumper by moving him. Keep your finger on the screen. You're going to be moving him left and right.
Gentlemen, if I may interject, I've also sent out in the chat window a link to the site so that you don't have to hand type it in. You guys can just click on the link in the chat.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
And if you're
it's hard for me not to talk, Bill.
Working, yeah, if it's working for you, please give us a note. We got 1 or 2 people that are having trouble getting in. So if you're successfully getting in there, maybe you could respond to us as well. Just want to make sure that this is working. We do have a large audience today, so we're going to set a record for most people playing at one time. Okay,
We're also
Richard,
going to set a record
getting,
for the amount of, sorry?
I would say we are getting some reports that some people are having difficulty getting in.
Okay.
Got a couple of people that are in.
Okay. We've significantly turned up the amount of power on our servers, so hopefully everyone can get in. We'll give everyone, again, everyone gets their 3 minutes, so it's everyone's hitting the servers at the same time. In the background, I just received a note that it's just a slow load right now because so many people are hitting the servers.
Okay. And,
and
if this doesn't go as planned, we will send the link out at the end. We'll get that. You'll get a follow-up email, and a number of things that we've discussed will be in there, including a link to the game. So I apologize for the people that aren't able to get in. Hopefully we get enough to show some degree of results in there.
Yep.
There we go. I'm in. There was a bit of a lag at the beginning, but I just went ahead and checked, but I promised, because I know all the answers, not to play.
You may not win, Bill. You are not permitted.
I may not win, actually.
And Andrew, you can't win either.
Fine, I won't try then. No, I played yesterday. Got the high score for my minute.
Excellent. Nice.
In a minute. All right. So I think we're getting close to the time. Go ahead.
Yeah. I can't, because I can't hear the. I don't have any feedback. I don't. Yeah, I would just say that everybody. It will. Everyone, if just have the patience, it will load. It just takes a little bit longer because because of Bill's popularity and having so many people on this webinar all at once. So.
Yeah. Well, we did challenge your tech staff. We do have nearly 500 people that are loaded at the same time.
Yeah.
But I've got him. I've got Jack jumping.
Excellent.
So
excellent. What tends to happen, we have, just for those out there that are currently playing, this game is currently used by various companies such as Microsoft and Intel, and they use it for training their sales departments, their distributors, and they have thousands of people that play the game, just not all at the same exact time. So why don't we do this, Bill? Let's give everybody one more minute, and then we'll give them one more minute, and then we'll continue with what makes for a good game.
Yeah, and I can actually slowly start into this while people are still playing. We're a smart group. We can multitask. I wanted to address one question we had earlier from Ethan, which is a really good question going into this next segment. He asked about the differences between game learning, gamification, and game theory. Game learning is what we will talk a lot about when it comes to the design and development of a game experience for an individual that allows them to learn a task, and we'll show some examples of different ways, but where the learning experience itself has been delivered in some sort of gaming fashion, whether it's a simple Q&A or whether it's a more more complex, even virtual realities. That's what we talk about game learning. Gamification, we often use the term when we're playing against each other. When you have the leaderboard, when you're taking an exercise or a learning strategy and you've allowed people to compete with each other. So you've taken some very, very traditional learning approaches, but you've added a game element on top of it. So it may not be as immersive as the jump guys, but there's a way for people to continue to repeat. I've seen it where it's as simple as the number of programs that you take, the number of learning programs you've taken gives you credits. And so you earn more credits. You can cash those credits in, or you can see a leaderboard to see if you've got more credit than somebody else. And a pretty good motivation technique. Game theory, you hear that most in economics, but it is, once again, the idea of coming up with a strategy and having multiple people go through that strategy together to see if there is some consistency in the results that can lead to some sort of insight. So Richard, if you could go to the next screen, I want to talk about the game development itself. There are rules to developing a game, and some of these are some of the guidelines to be left behind when you're thinking about what makes a game addictive and what really brings people in. First of all, a game, is a voluntary activity. You can play the game or not play the game, and throughout you have this element of no matter where you are in the game, you have a choice as to what to do. We obviously are trying to entertain because we're really trying to get the brain active. We'll show some examples later where people actually do learn, and they learn because there's a natural repetition to it. Their mind is more engaged in the play, and if the learning objectives and content are baked into the play well enough, then they are learning that. There is some sort of goal, or at the end, even if it's difficult to achieve, there's a natural way to get to that goal, and of course there's a set of rules. Richard, if you get to the next screen for me. There we go. Well-designed games. The goals are clear. The goals are clear. The jump game is very clear what you're trying to achieve. Very important, whether you're talking about a Star Wars game or whether you're talking about a game in the workplace, that you know what the end objective is. It may not be easy to achieve. In fact, a really well-designed game may make it very difficult, but you know you can. So what we're trying to do is to get people to want to replay the game because they constantly want to do better. So we've given you the rules. You know what it takes, and at each time you also know how close you got to achieving. But you're in full control as to whether you're going to play, how you're going to play the game. And then there's also a sense of celebration at the end. It might be that you're winning a eLearning Brothers subscription. It might be that you are excelling past your coworkers, or there might be some other type of reward or certificate because you've created a series of games that lead up to a program. But this, I think, one of the internal themes of this is that there is an end goal. There's an end point. It may be really hard. In fact, if it's designed well, it is hard because you want people to want to go back in and play multiple times to achieve that. Richard, if you can go to the next slide for me. There we go.
Showing?
Talk about, yeah, it is. It is wanting to play again. And why do they want to replay? Obviously, they've failed in some way, and there's a compelling reason for them to want to try again. So we don't want failure and then you're done. Too many Q&As within an e-learning course is, you're asked to answer, and if you get it wrong, it says try again. If you get it wrong, it just says try again, and eventually you exhaust the resources, or it just tells you that you failed and moves on to the next piece. That's obviously not a game. What you want is someone that pushes themselves. There's a sufficiently compelling reason to want them to try again. That goal is attainable, and it's something to actually want to get to. Go to the next slide for me. There we go. So in summary, what drives replayability? Obviously, you fail in the first attempt. Game's not that much fun if you win the very first time. You get to explore more of the game. This is something I've seen firsthand with my son, who is a millennial and plays the game. Well, he'll win, but he'll go back and play again anyway. because a well-designed game gives you multiple ways to get to the end. And if it's sufficiently fun, if you play like one of the console games on Xbox where the worlds are huge now, they just want to go back in and explore. They want to see what else is there. So that's a really good reason to go back and play. There is an extrinsic reward, so there is a sense that you have won something. Oftentimes, winning at one level just lets you get to the next level. People will play to beat their personal best. I played the jump game 4 times. Each time just try to get a little bit better than I did before. And then finally, it's the social status. If it's gamification, or even if you look at the things, Xbox 360, people are playing against each other out in the world. So let's see what the results are for the game that we just finished.
Fantastic. So we had over 223 people play the game. And so a big congratulations to Jeff S. at area code 403. So Jeff, if you would please stand up, raise your hand, and you have won the 1-year subscription to the eLearning Brothers asset library of images. So well done with 106,128 points. Everybody, a big round of applause to Jeff S. So well done. And the other 225 people, thank you very much for playing. We certainly appreciate it. And we'll send a link to this URL a little bit later. So going back. Okay, so Bill, I'll grab that mic from you and just continue or consider this chat. So 75 to 90%. Some of you may have seen, those of you that saw that question in the actual jump game, you already know where we're heading with this, which is that it is important because is it the retention rates when using games as a complement? Is it the bell curve of scores in a well-designed quiz? Or is it the typical percentage of resumes passed over during recruiting? Well, we all know that it is the range of retention rates when using games as a complement. So again, going back to the peanut butter and jelly, together we make that delicious training sandwich. And why? Now, this is probably the most important slide, the most important intrinsic takeaway from the entire webinar. So everybody's feeling good having played the jump game, and I want to tell you why games like the jump game are so effective. And what you have happening when you play a game and you are actually manipulating the data, the training information that you need someone to learn and retain, by playing a game, you're actually encoding that information into the person's long-term memory. This is the exact reason why when we are kids and we are first learning how to count, how to read, we do it in games. It is the most effective way to drive long-term retention. And in the act of playing a good game, you have fun, you see your progress, you have endorphins flooding into your system. You're enjoying yourself. When you enjoy yourself, you're more open to learning. We create what we've called the winner effect. And in that great game of replayability that Bill mentioned, you then create willing repetition. Those are the 2 key words, willing repetition, to play again. So you end up creating this loop of play, learn, repeat. Play, learn, repeat. Sounds like shampoo, right? Play, learn, repeat. And that is the key to why games are so effective as a complement to your training material. I'm not saying to just use games, use it as a complement. And I do want to stay on this point for a moment, because while this whole topic, this whole theme of the webinar is about games and fun and engagement, we want everyone to clearly know that we take this very seriously. Our mission at the Game Agency and eLearning Brothers, our mission is to help you train your employees better. It is a very noble cause that we are very proud to be a part of. So while we use games as our medium, it is here to do a very serious mission of helping your employees do better be better at their jobs, be more fulfilled, and have them be more productive, have your companies be more productive. So we're very passionate about this mission and very proud to be your partners in doing so. I'm going to turn the mic back over to Bill so we can talk about some real-life case studies.
Yeah, and before I do, I want to get to a couple questions. There's some really good questions out there, and two categories of questions in particular. We got one from Elizabeth and another one from Sean that talk about the different age categories, different generations, and older generation that may not be great at games, and they get frustrated with the play. You know, something like the jump game definitely targeted more towards a younger audience with the nimbleness required to do the controls. But for the older audience, obviously, you're thinking about the audience when you design the game, and we're going to show you an example of one that is still gamified, it's still a game, but it's not the arcade. It's not the arcade style. It is a decision point. They are in a alternative world, and they are going from place to place and making decisions along the way, and at each point they're answering a question. And so it is a gaming environment. They are transitioning through a world and trying to get farther and farther. But it's a little bit more pedestrian in terms of the agility required. So it helps address the people, the older generation that may not be great at games or may fear games a little bit.
Bill, before you jump,
let
me jump on your toes there for a moment. And if we know that the audience is an older audience, we also create different kinds of games like the simulation we're going to show in just a second, but also card games. Right. We have a game right now that we're developing that's called Total Recall, and it is much more of a game, card-based. And it's a fun game, but it just is a bit slower in its tempo. And so knowing that audience allows you to create different games to meet their particular needs. You know, I will say this, you know, this jump game was, go ahead, sorry, Bill.
No, I'm just saying you made a really good point, and something we'll touch on, is that games don't also have to be online and in arcade. You know, we've made a lot of games that work in a classroom setting, and it's about getting groups of people together to interact and achieve an objective. And sometimes by having an element of a simulation or a game, that works as well in the classroom, sometimes even better. And so we have a question here also from Nancy about whether a game has to be in one setting or in one sitting, and absolutely not. One of the projects we recently finished for a large technical company, the game was an entire universe spectrum, and it took a long time. Basically, what we took is a traditional 32-day new employee orientation program and made it into a series of games. And some of them were very, very simple. And some of them were simple activities, and even embedded into, you know, having to read this PDF or take this little nugget of online learning. So it tracked where you were along the way, and there was a goal, but it wasn't something you had to have finish in 3 minutes. But the game element did kind of push you and motivate you to want to do it, because you could track your progress against your colleagues' progress, and of course there was an end goal of trying to finish it. We talk about different demographics that play games. There's definitely some data. Richard showed some data earlier, but I want to show you some examples of real-life changes. Surgeons played video games faster at the advanced procedures and made fewer errors. I think, again, it gets back to how deeply enrooted the concept was in the brain, and having the ability to practice over and over again. We're doing some virtual reality lately with some very, very expensive and complex procedures. And if you make a mistake, it could cost a lot. But if we put them in a virtual reality environment and they can practice over and over again, then when they're in the real life setting where it matters, they're more likely to be successful. Richard, if you go to the next slide. It also works with different age groups. We have an example with elderly patients taking psychotherapy games or physiotherapy games and being able to improve their balance and mobility as a result of playing these games. These are actually physical games, so clearly they're not online when they're playing this game. And the last one that I'll cite, this one is the most impressive statistic of all, and this is your Border Patrol group, and the scores after playing the games, virtual simulations, and this is this is great for the older audiences as well. We're going to show an example of this very soon, where they're put in different situations, have conversations with avatars and different characters, and based on how they respond, the character they're interacting with would respond differently. So they're given a couple choices, and based on that choice, the person may do something different. And by repetition and going through these different scenarios and determining and understanding what the right answer is, they continue to build the right best practices. They continue to build their knowledge, and many times we'll go back and intentionally put the wrong answer in there just to see what the response is. And they learn just as much through that act of failure as they do the successful ones that we go through. So we're going to have an example of a game come up real shortly here that's very much along these lines. Richard?
Okay, so we're going to do something. We're going to try something. I've never done this before with this large group of audience, which is to play a game with all 500 of us at the same time. We're going to play a game called the Character Playbook. And let me set the stage. So last year, you may remember that the National Football League had a big issue with some of their employees not conducting themselves in a professional manner. And so they felt it important to try and educate their fans, the youth, about how to communicate more effectively with one another, how to deal with adversity and challenges. And so they actually underwrote the creation of this game called Character Playbook, and it's 5 hours of different scenarios for teens to experiment with these different difficult situations so that they can be able to, ahead of time, kind of build the tools that they need in order to effectively deal with this emotionally complicated situations. So we're going to play one right now, and I'm going to try, we're going to play, all of us, all 500 of us are going to go on a date right now with Oscar and Maria. So we're going to listen in on Oscar and Maria, and we're going to listen to some options that we have in terms of where we can take the storyline. And the way this is going to work is Andrew is going to send out a poll for the 3 different options that we can take Oscar and Maria as we follow them on their date. So 1 second, I'm going to actually turn this on, and everyone's going to hear Oscar and Maria, and then Andrew is going to send out the poll. So again, bear with me as we do this for the very first time. 1 second.
Let's revisit the conversation between Oscar and Maria. I'm glad we get to chill tonight. When was the last time we hung out, just the 2 of us? When they first started talking about how they wanted to spend their night, how could Maria have been a better listener?
Sounds great. Sounds great. I'd love to hang out just the 2 of us. Sounds great.
Okay, so now Andrew is sending out a poll so we can decide, and obviously the answer that receives the most votes, we will select and see what happens. I'll say this, as you are making your decision, teaching soft skills is much more difficult than teaching hard fact-based skills in general and in games in particular, but you can do that. You can teach people how to be more effective in their communication and behaviors, and this is one way of doing so. So, Bill, I'm unable to see the results of the poll, so if you would be so kind as to guide me as we're going to make this decision.
Well, it seems like the majority, 90%, said the second answer. Sounds great. I'd love to hang out. Just the 2 of us was the proper answer.
Let's see let's see what the 90% that was correct.
Maria listens actively and uses nonverbal cues to show Oscar that she's listening to what he's saying. She faces him while he speaks, makes eye contact, and nods her head in agreement. So what happens next?
All right, so what happens next?
When Maria gets a text from Sylvia that night, she politely tells her that she's hanging out with Oscar. Maria and Oscar have a fun night watching movies and eating popcorn.
And then this is what happens.
Who was that?
It was Sylvia. She's coming over in a few minutes. That's okay, right? We're not really doing anything tonight anyways.
How could Oscar respond to clearly communicate his feelings? I guess that's fine. Why would you invite her over? Don't you remember I told you I wanted to hang out just the two of us? Well, I was actually hoping to spend tonight just the two of us. I thought that was what we agreed to earlier. Is that okay?
Okay, Andrew's going to send out the next poll so we can decide which of the responses that Oscar gave allowed him to more clearly communicate his feelings to Maria.
All right, those answers are coming in. We're at about 79% voted. Give it another second or two to get about to 90%. All right, last chance. We'll close it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, and Bill or Andrew, if you'd be so kind as to let me know which of the options which of the paths we want to take Oscar down.
Yeah, everybody seems to be on the same path. 93% said option 3. Well, I was actually hoping to spend tonight just the two of us.
All right, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens.
Oscar is being honest and open with Maria about how he feels. In healthy relationships, it's important to tell the other person how you feel. It not only makes you feel better, but it gives you the chance to talk things through and fix things. So, what happens next?
All right, and that's as far as we will go with Oscar and Maria on their date. The rest is up to them. So what we see here is a couple things, is that through gameplay, through simulations, we're able to provide context for people to not only try out new situations, but to fail. And it's important to give opportunities to fail, to learn from those failures. It's also interesting to play this as a game, to kind of get a feel for what that's like as a team. In fact, I'll share with you that recently we had 4,000 sales reps at a pharma sales training, live sales training event where they had instructors leading these pharma reps to learn about a new drug. And they were playing games together. There were 10 people around the table playing sometimes simple games. Bill, to your earlier point about games don't have to be about jumping and running. These were games that included things like word scrambles and fill in the blanks, but they got to see how they as a team did against others. And there were a leaderboard, and they had points, and the team that won would explode with exhilaration every time their table won that particular round. So games and we together as a group just experienced a social moment working through Oscar and Maria on their date. So, Bill, any closing statements on that?
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, exactly. I want to. If you could go back, I want to interject because Sophia has shown such great game playing instincts. We want to put you on the spot. Her question was, what happens when there's an incorrect answer? This is an outstanding question because, as we mentioned, the whole, people, if it's a well-designed game, people want to know, and they will go back and play it over and over again because they'd like to know what happens when he didn't say the right thing. So can I put you on the spot and maybe go to the next question and intentionally get it wrong? Is that possible?
Well, I've closed those windows, so if you just give me a moment, I can actually open it back up. So
I will.
One moment.
I've got a
All right.
got a couple questions here. Okay.
Oscar and
Oh,
Sure.
you're there pretty quick. Why don't you go ahead and start since you got there so quick.
When was the last time we hung out, just the two of us? When they first started talking about how they wanted to spend their night.
Sounds
All right.
great.
So, okay. So let's pick the sarcastic answer.
Maria said that it sounded great, but she was actually looking at her phone. She barely even heard what Oscar said. So what happens next?
So the whole point there, Sophia, is when you get something wrong, that's the exact moment that your mind is open to contextually relevant information to have you be shown the correct path. So as in the jump game, and Sophia, if you play the jump game, you'll hopefully remember that when you got the answer wrong, we highlighted in green the correct answer. And this is the beauty of using a game, is that we can help you at that exact moment. You don't have to wait 3 days to get your answers back. It's at the precise moment that you're actually learning the material that we provide you that feedback. And that feedback loop, that instant feedback loop, is a critical component of games. And for other games, even when you get, yes, so as you can see, Bill, I'm rather passionate about this, but please, we're trying to keep our eye on the clock too. So please, guide me.
And I want to respect the audience who have asked such great questions. I'm going to get a couple of these questions before we get to our closing remarks. Linda asked, wouldn't the nature of the content determine the nature of the game? And because her content is more conceptual complex, and absolutely, the nature of the content determines the nature of the game. The more technical content certainly could lend itself to more trial and error in terms of activity versus the soft skills. Somebody had asked as well, is going to be more of a scenario-based decision-making type of situation. One individual asked about the intrinsic motivation, which I thought was very, very interesting. They asked about whether or not that kind of motivation would actually distract from the learning experience. And I wanted to give you a couple examples because clearly as you're designing the game, you want to think about the reinforcement, the proper motivation. If it's a new employee orientation experience, for example, there's a series of courses you need them to take. You've done your best throughout it, but you want to put gamification in there, and they're awarded gifts for completing it, because that is the objective: is get things done, get them done in a reasonable time frame, perhaps get them done before your other people. And so giving a gift in that situation is something that tends to work out really well. If it's a compliance course and you use the game in order to show good scenarios, bad scenarios, what happens during bad scenarios, then clearly this isn't about winning a prize. Your motivation is zero errors. Your motivation is to get through this to a degree where you're able to solve a mission and not complete errors. We had one particular course we did on branding, and the reward was if you got through all the scenarios and you finished the game. It was sort of a James Bond type of game. You had to catch the bad guy and solve the mystery, and you were declared then a brand champion. And there was a certificate that you could print out, and people would put it on their desk very proudly because they were called the brand champion. So certainly, depending on the subject matter, the type of reward as a result should certainly vary. As part of being this presentation, we got a couple guests for you. The URL for the jump game will be sent out to you, and certainly I think if we have all 500 people not playing at the exact same time, but playing at different times, I think you're going to be able to go out there and have a lot of fun and get a sense. The nice thing about the jump game, I do want to plug.
Bill, someone pointed out that on the screen here there's a URL, www.bemorefun, and then that is .com. That is a typo there, but and it's fixed just like that.
Yes, .om. It's a Zen type of thing. The thing about
some yoga here.
Yeah, exactly. The thing about the jump game is it's actually customizable. So it's one of the things they did when they created the jump game is you'll see the example of how it was used in a particular context. But if you talk to, get in touch with Richard, he'll actually talk a little bit about how you can take that jump game, customize it to your questions, to your environment, to your subject matter. So actually be able to take it as a template, which is kind of exciting. The second thing we'll do is we'll send out a link to the online book, The 7 Attributes. We did research with Brandon Hall and a lot of case studies on what makes a successful outsourcing relationship between a company and their vendor. How to pick the right vendor, what should you look for, really getting the details, stories about failures and successes. And what we're trying to do is outline a blueprint for selecting the right partner for the right opportunities so that you're both successful. And I define success as you've achieved your vision and the vendor's made a profit. When those two things are real, great things can happen. And one of those things is not present, then sometimes you spend more time trying to repair the relationship than you do making things happen. So we're going to send that link to you. Hopefully you find some value out of that as well. If you want to answer 2 quick questions, somebody asked what tools were being used for the games. You know, in the past we were able to use Flash to build a lot of these. We've built some award-winning games just out of in Captivate. There's a little bit of hardcore programming, but using Captivate to create some really good gaming experiences. I think, Richard, tell me if I'm correct, did you guys use Unity for the jump game?
The jump game is actually built in a combination of HTML5 and Angular JavaScript. So we do use Unity a lot for building other games, and if anyone wants to have personal demos of our other games that we use, some of them in Unity, it'd be my pleasure. Just reach out to the email address, and we can set up a personal demo.
Outstanding. And something to remind you is that just a game doesn't have to be high-tech. It could be a board game, it could be a card game, it could be you know, a really well-designed series of questions and answers with a motivational aspect. You know, the arcade games are awesome. Some of the stuff we produced are certainly a whole lot of fun and very impressive, but you don't have to go that far to produce a really good gaming experience. If we can get to the last slide, we've got our contact information. You know, hopefully you could tell during this presentation that we love this topic. We absolutely love talking about this. So I invite you to reach out to Richard or reach out to myself if you've got questions, you've got opportunities, or you just are looking for resources and enjoy talking about games and some of the other things that we do. So that's our contact information for getting both to our companies and to us individually. So with 1 minute to go, Andrew, do you want to close up for us?
Sure. I did want to reiterate that we will be sending out a follow-up email that will include links to the jump game as well as to the online book, a nice gift that we'd like to give you. We'll also, gentlemen, you had mentioned at the beginning sharing some information from a white paper. Is it all right if we include that in that email?
Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So yeah, you could be looking for that over the next, it'll be probably sent within the next 2 hours, so be checking your inboxes for that. Thank you again, both Bill and Richard, for joining us today. It's great information. We've had loads of great comments and questions here. Thanks, audience, for your participation. And don't forget, we're going to be having more webinars, so check back with eLearningbrothers.com for our webinar schedule, and we'd be happy to have you in those webinars. But thank you again, and have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.